Welcome to Utah Bankruptcy Questions and Answers. This is a video series where we answer questions about filing bankruptcy in Ogden, Utah. I'm attorney Amy Butters, and I hope you find this series informative and helpful.
Welcome to video 15, How to Find a Bankruptcy Lawyer. Now, attorney selection and the interview process is a very, very important part of filing bankruptcy because you have to make this decision correctly. Something that I mentioned in the ebook is you have to get this right because you only get really one shot at this. Okay, if you end up getting into a bankruptcy, especially at Chapter 7, and you have a poor attorney who isn't necessarily representing your best interests or doing a good job of doing that, you could be stuck. And the other thing is, too, if it's in a foreclosure situation and you file, let's say you file a Chapter 13 and they do some things wrong, and then you end up having to dismiss that case and refile again, well, now that protection period that you were afforded in the first 13 is much, much shorter, leaving you exposed to the risk of losing your house. More problems that I have seen in bankruptcies can be traced back to who the lawyer was or what they actually did in that case than any of the other topics that we've discussed in all of our other videos. And sorry about that. And one thing that I always tell people is you may have heard this saying before: the bitterness of poor quality lingers long after the joy of a low price has faded. Okay? Rarely is this more true than in the case of a bankruptcy attorney that has too much to do and not enough time to do it. And, when you're talking about guys who say, I'm the cheapest, that's usually who you're dealing with, is somebody who is based on volume, right? Get as many through the door as possible, spend as little time as possible on each case. That's what you're getting when you're looking for the cheapest price, okay? In most cases, don't go to family for advice about bankruptcy. They're not lawyers, and they don't know what they're talking about. Even if they went through bankruptcy, that might be an indication that they're the last people you should talk to. Okay, don't go to them. Find a professional. Call attorneys. Almost everyone right now offers free consultations. Unless you're right up against and you have to file immediately, you want to take some care and some caution in making this decision, okay? Now, I want to say one word of caution about so-called paralegal services or non-lawyers that are offering to prepare bankruptcy forms for you for a fee, or even just provide the forms for you, and they're telling you, hey, it's so easy for you to just go do your bankruptcy by yourself. Well, let me just tell you some things. First of all, that may or may not be true, but in most cases, they're not going to be able to give you legal advice on any difficult scenarios. You are going to be in court. You are going to need to talk to the trustee and the judge in this case, and you're not going to have a lawyer there to represent you. So think long and hard about that decision. And finally, this field, the paralegal field, or the form, they call them non-attorney petition preparers. That field is littered with shady individuals that give bad advice and even in some cases are defrauding customers. Now, here's some questions you might get asked when you go in to interview a lawyer. What debts are giving you the most trouble? What significant assets do you own or control? How did your debts come up? And we talked about that in an earlier video, business or personal. So, how did these happen? Are your debts secured or unsecured? Do you have a whole bunch of credit cards, or is it a house? Is there any legal action pending that the lawyer should be aware of, like a foreclosure, repossession, garnishment, or maybe your utilities are about to get shut off? And then finally, what's your overall goal in this case? Are you looking for a financial fresh start, or do you want to salvage everything and try to save your house, save your car, etc.? Now, I want to give you some questions that you should ask when you're talking to a lawyer. It might be kind of silly to think about, but one question you probably should ask is, if they haven't already told you, is, are you the lawyer? And I say that because I've had clients and I've seen people around in the 12 years I've been doing this where the first time they met their lawyer was at the creditors meeting. So they sat down and did an interview with a paralegal or an assistant or somebody who asked them all the questions and found out, and in most cases, or not in most cases, but in those cases, it wasn't even a lawyer they were talking to. And they didn't even know who this person was that they met when they went to their creditors meeting. Second question is, how long have you been practicing bankruptcy law? No offense to someone starting out, they do need to get a start somewhere, but it probably shouldn't be your case. How long have you been practicing in Utah? Remember, there's state-specific rules for every area, so you don't want somebody who just moved here from New York, which is a mortgage state, and we're a trust deed state, so dealing with foreclosure is an issue. So there's different rules. You want to make sure they have some time and experience here or in your state. Do you personally attend any hearings that we might be required to attend? Now, we already talked about the issue of the assistant or the paralegal, but there's another issue too, and that is that there are some lawyers who are the name and the face for the firm, and then what they do is they have a junior lawyer make the appearance. So they show up to the hearing, or in certain circumstances, I've even seen lawyers call up someone else who's at the courthouse and say, hey, do you mind making this appearance for me? Well, if that happens, ask for a continuance. The guy doesn't know your case. He doesn't know anything about you. He's just standing in for the other guy, and I personally, I wouldn't accept that. Do you work with us after our bankruptcy is over to help us with our credit? You're going to get a variety of answers here, and it's important that you find someone who does actually care and have a plan for what's happening to you after your bankruptcy is over. How do I know that my credit report will be updated properly? And this relates to the question that I just posed. Somebody who knows and can offer you direction and advice as to what happens after your bankruptcy is crucial. It's very, very important to your future. Next question, are you knowledgeable about foreclosure, short sales, and loan modifications? You may not need all or one of those things, but you need a lawyer who's experienced, because all these things are really part of the bankruptcy process on a regular basis, and you want them to know in case it involves your house. And then if this is applicable, and I'm going to say this with a little bit of caution, but if it's applicable to you, you may want to bring up two things. One, adversarial proceedings or lien strips, okay? And then the other is what's called a redemption or a 722 redemption, which is just referring to the rule in the bankruptcy code. This could be either one of two reasons. Either because you think that it pertains to your case, or sometimes if you're like me, I want to know that the person I'm talking with is knowledgeable and has been down some of these roads with the law, and so I'm asking them just to simply see if they know. I want to know what the depth of their knowledge is. So I know they're prepared to help any client. Now, if you enjoyed this video, but you feel like you still have some unanswered questions, don't worry, we've got you covered. We've actually created an entire video series that answers all the commonly asked questions about bankruptcy in Utah. Go ahead on over to our website, ogdenbankruptcylawyers.net, and there you'll be able to download our free ebook, and you'll be directed to our main website where the entire video series is located.